Hey everyone, Aja here from Garden Days. Today I'm going to be looking around my garden and also property to see if I can find plants to replace some of the plants that I had died while I was gone for a month and a half. I did have some casualties, like these two plants right here. This one I think might still be alive. It still has some flex to it. And there was a little green coming up from the bottom. This one's completely dead, so I do want to replace that one. And I thought instead of going to the store and buying more plants, I could probably find something free on my property. For instance, like this agave, there's two patches here, and they don't ever have to be put on drip or taken care of. Now, if I do give them supplement water, they do better. And this one just flowered this season, and you can see the old flower stalk. It is a little later in the day and it has cooled down somewhat. It was supposed to get to 91 degrees today, but I don't think ever got to that. It got to 87, but it was still too warm to get out in the sun and start digging up plants. But now that it's cooled off a little bit and not as hot, I think I'm gonna get the shovel out and start transplanting some plants. There's other plants on the property as well, like this prickly pear, which also has edible fruit, which is amazing. Like this cactus right here. It's either a finger cactus or a cholla cactus. I'm not quite sure. I think it's more of a finger cactus. And I have several of these around my property that I could dig up. This one I did transplant and put in this garden bed, and it's definitely thriving and doing well. Sometimes we even get little agaves growing inside where the junipers are. That just reminded me of something and gave me an idea. I always have issues growing things under this juniper, but I believe an agave would go into here, and there's several I could harvest, so I could just do a line of them here. I think that would look pretty good. I was looking through the garden, and I just noticed that this pinyon pine here is kind of growing next to this juniper. Now, they can grow together. This is an example of a pinyon and a juniper growing together. And once the pinyon gets big enough, it just kind of takes over. But I think I'd rather move that so it has a space to itself, not too far, just right over here, possibly. I think it would look good in this area here, right behind the jujube. The sun comes up from over here. So this jujube will still get plenty of sun because it casts this way. I guess the first thing I want to do is hit up that pinyon pine. And there is another one that I saw on the back side of my property. And that's this one right here. I have another one that's kind of growing inside of that barberry, that huge barberry behind the trailer. There's one also growing over here. But this one is obviously way too big to transplant. I don't have the equipment for that. I'm sure it could be done, but I think it's going to be fine right where it is. So we'll leave it alone. Oh, and there's even another one mixed in with that barberry over there. The ones that usually grow along with the barberry get more protection, and I think they do better from animal browsing, or sometimes even elk come through here and they like to rub their horn on the trunk, like what's happened here, and it removes the bark and it killed the top of the tree. So I don't know if the bottom will survive, possible if this is hacked off. Now, I know this technique won't work for everybody, but if you have existing plants or patches of flowers that are established, you can always divide those. Another plant that just grows native here. I didn't have to plant it, so I'm going to harvest a little bit of this as well. Now, this one here, I don't really transplant, but it just seeds itself everywhere. And if I don't want it in the spot, then I'll just rip it up. But if I do, I just leave it. But eventually it starts getting these little florets, and this is actually the tumbleweed, but it's a beautiful plant. It'll turn kind of a dark red before it dies off, and I do let it seed everywhere because it's beautiful, especially when it starts to flower. I found this little fir tree on the side of the road, so I grabbed out my shovel and dug it up. It's doing good so far. This is another plant that you can find on the roadside, and it's the Rocky Mountain penstemon. It does have nice purple blooms on it. Yarrow is another plant that you can harvest that grows on the roadside, in the woods. It grows everywhere, but this specific one I got from my nursery, and it has little purple blooms. The one that I harvested from the roadside is this your common white yarrow. Last but not least is definitely one of my favorite free plants. This is the 4 o'clock, and it has beautiful, beautiful purple blooms, which usually blooms later in the day, not midday. And right now it's going to seed. So I'm not sure. Usually it will get another flush, but it did flower earlier this season. Yeah, this is a beautiful plant, but I will say it does not like to be transplanted. You have to rip up all the green and you have to dig down, and there is a big, huge root ball, and that's what you want to replant, and then it'll regrow from that, but everything else will die back. I am fortunate to have this big 20 acres, and there's just plants here and there. Right, Mumu? Plants here and there. It is later in the day and the day is wasting away, so I need to go ahead and get the shovel out and dig up some plants. Along with my shovel, I also grabbed a bucket of water so I could soak the roots before planting it. Honestly, I think I'm going to skip on this one because there's easier ones to get to, and there is a huge, huge branch that runs through the bottom, so it's really hard to dig up or get to dig up. This is the branch I'm speaking of, and it runs all the way along, and I don't want to cut it off because it gives nice vegetation here. And I mean, I think what I'll do is just leave this, and eventually what this will do is just grow out this way because that's where the sun is, and it'll still kind of shade this area. But yeah, I'll just leave it there. So I guess I'm going to start with the agave because it's probably one of the easier plants to dig up. Hey, Momo. Well, Well, I got this section here planted out. I think that actually looks good. It fills up the space quite nicely. Found some more good cactus, and I found these awesome ones here. They remind me of barrel cactus, but I don't think that's what they are. There's some form of round cactus. I've seen them before. They have little flowers that grow on the top. So that's cute. I'm glad I found those. We don't have that long before the sun goes down, so I'm going to try to get these last few cactus planted and get started again tomorrow. It is supposed to be a cooler day. Hopefully, I can find something other than cactus. And I am liking the agave, but they are much harder to dig up than the cactus are, which is weird. Once all this gets established, it'll look much better. But I think I'm going to start here. There's an empty spot there. I'm not sure if I want anything back here because I'm going to try to do vines next spring so they can cover this archway. But I think I'm going to get some planted in here. There's definitely a lot of space. Good morning. It's another beautiful day, and today is not supposed to be as hot as yesterday, and there is a nice breeze. So I guess I could get back to work in the garden. I didn't even clean up my mess from yesterday, but I'm really liking this spot. I think it's turned out really nice. The only two plants that I bought and didn't harvest from my landscape is this hens and chick and the sedum there. But the rest of what I planted yesterday, I just grabbed from around the property, and I think it looks good. I do have one spot up here that I still need to find a plant for in between the two cactus. I was thinking the agave would look good there, or maybe this red hot poker because it's starting to send out little babies here and I could transplant those. Yeah, that's what I think I'll do. I had a 9 bark there, but it died off. I have another forsythia, and I thought about moving that. I mean, it's doing well, but it's in a shaded location, so it might not bloom as well. So I might move that over to where the other one is. I bought this one bare root. It was very inexpensive. I think it was on sale for $5. Oh, I gotta get these planted. I almost forgot about these. So we've been talking about free plants, but I also got free mulch. Now, obviously, it wasn't free to drive here because we had to go to Flagstaff to pick it up, and there's gas, but I mean, I've had years where I bought the mulch at like a big box store and then still had to drive it back here. So the mulch itself was free other than transportation. And I want to use that to top off the veggie gardens pathways. It's starting to get a lot of weeds growing up, so I need to weed as well. But I want to go ahead and finish this garden bed since there's not much left in it. All right, I finished this sector here, put in the other forsythia, and I changed my mind. There were some daylilies that really needed to be transplanted, so I moved those over here before they die off completely. And I went ahead and added drip to all the new plants. So it's all done. Just got to clean up my mess. I'm going to go ahead and get the vegetable garden mulched. Jeff and Jamie were nice enough to help me. We mulched from that point over there all the way to this point here. I just wanted to show you the mulch. There are some big pieces, but most of it is smaller. And I'm okay with this because this is just in the path. It'll break down nicely and help with the weeds. So we'll probably need 2 more loads. This is the second year of mulch. I'm hoping that as the mulch gets thicker and thicker in the walkways, that less and less weeds will grow, and also the weeds that do grow will be much easier to pull out. And I have noticed that with the ground, things that have been mulched, the ground's easier to work, but with the dry, compacted soil, things are really hard to get out. Talking about free plants, here's more. Volunteers are great free plants. I just let them grow. I just want to give you an update on a volunteer plant that's been growing. It's just surprised me. So this is where I used to have my compost. So the soil's a little fertile because compost was sitting there. I've moved all the compost bins over there because we were having problems with mice wanting to burrow down, and then they would get into the garden. That's why I ended up putting that metal fence around the wood fence, and then it goes out some so that they can't dig under. But anyways, there's a plant. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, and it's starting to go to seed, so I need to harvest the seed. This is a red leaf lettuce. If you can even see it, it's protected. That's nice. Okay, I moved that out of the way, but here it is. It's a red leaf lettuce, and this just grew by itself, and it lasted all summer in our hot temps. So that's why I want to harvest the seeds. It's just a red lettuce that I planted, and it went to seed and came back by itself, and yeah, so I'm going to harvest some of these seeds before they float away. A few years ago, I used to have a little veggie patch here with herbs. That's why the sage is still down there, and also some lettuces, and one of them was arugula, and I still have volunteer arugula coming up, and it's been probably 3 years. So I also want to save the seed. I haven't been saving the seed, but hopefully this does go to seed so I can save it. I'm so glad to have that garden bed looking full, and I want to do that with the other garden beds, but I'll do that in a different video. It's definitely starting to warm up. It actually feels hotter than it was yesterday, but today was supposed to be cooler. I've got a nice cool beverage. I'm going to sit in the shade. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. If you want to check out more videos, they'll be right over here, or you can subscribe if you already haven't. We'll see you next time here on Garden Days. Bye for now.